just did a Nadi astrology reading where I read a 5,000-year-old scroll. They had my name and like my entire life on it.
What?
It was the most profound reading I've ever done in my life.
No way.
And they tell you like your biggest blocks, your past life, why it happened, and how to clear it.
All right, guys, got Daniel Raphael here coming off a bachelor party.
Yeah, first time. Did something human for. It's been a while since I've done I'm basically learning how to be a human. I feel like when I was 4 years old, I told my mom I was an alien. She didn't believe me. And I've been in the spiritual world, living there. And there's a lot of things I haven't done. So I just did my first jet ski, paddle board. My friend just had a bachelor party. I'm like, yes, let's do it. And seeing how I can learn how to be a human. Because that's actually new for me.
Right, because you've been on a journey of purpose, right?
Yeah, I've been on a spiritual journey where basically starting at 4 years old, I got disconnected from my soul, became autistic, depressed, couldn't connect with anyone. And, so my soul was still there, just, being pretty much in a different realm and slowly starting to zip back into my body over the last 15 years.
Interesting. So the autism kicked in at 4. I thought that was something you were born with.
Oh, no, I was born as like a super child. Like I was giving therapy to my preschool teachers.
Really?
I convinced a woman in fluent French to quit smoking at a barbershop around 3.5, 4 years old.
Wow.
Before that all started, could tune into her emotions. And I had some supernatural gifts. I was born just perfect. And I think we're all born that way. And then, of course, some things happen. You can guess what they are. And that happened to a lot of people. And we shut down.
Right.
And so I feel amazing now. But in some ways, I feel like this really old man that has access to so much information, and in some ways, just like a little child. It's like still learning how to be on this world.
No, that's interesting because I always wonder how these ancient civilizations were so spiritually evolved compared to how we are now. Like, shouldn't it be the other way around?
Well, a lot of it is the education. There's an advanced school, a secret school where they train these kids. My friend went to visit them, and he seen this little boy doing magic, and asked him like, "How old are you?" And the boy looks at him and says, "I am eternal." So they're not trained with any limits because they're an old soul, right? It's like, all these limits and programmings were put on. But if you're treating someone as the divine from the moment they're born and as a sovereign being, within a few years of age, they're literally more advanced than, our grandparents.
Wow.
Most of them,
That's crazy. That sounds like some Harry Potter stuff.
It is.
So there's still schools like that though?
I think that one just closed. It was a secret school, but we are doing a 2-week mystery school in Italy. I rented a whole village and castle.
Wow.
We're basically recreating something like that.
And why do you think they're so secretive these days?
Well, because we've been in the dark ages, so to speak, and a lot of this information, secret societies, all these things have been kept hidden. But in the last few years, all these different tribes, I've been with, chieftains of these Amazonian tribes, secret societies, they're all starting to share the information. They're all getting the same message. Like, it's time, it's a new age to share it because it just wasn't the right time before for what was going on in the world.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What were the tribes like, especially on the mental side? Like, did they have anxiety and all these conditions that we have in the Western world?
They didn't even understand it. Some of them were like, "Why would you do that to yourself?" That was the question. And be like, "What do you mean? Why would we do this? It's not our fault." But it's like, they see it as like, "Hey, you're driving the ship of your own reality. And we just don't know how to use our brains, our minds, right? You never get taught that." In these tribes, by the time they're 8 years old, they're astral traveling and doing little magical things to each other. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I trained with a lot of different tribes. I just met this chief a month ago. I was at this conference of world leaders, and he actually had an ET, like physically, like 2 extraterrestrials basically train him until the day he turned 18, and then they spiraled up into space and left him.
Really?
And he's enlightened. Like I was just shocked. He was one of the people there, and he was able to do some just incredible things.
What were they training him on?
There's basically just 3 different kind of mystery schools he talks about it. I'm going to actually go to Ecuador and train with him. So I'll get back to you on that. But basically just interfacing with the different realms of light and of the divine and how to heal, how to, do all this stuff. He even has these special eye drops. He's going to give you that. Then you can see everyone's auric fields and light and just navigate that space. So it's going to be a pretty
That's a power I really want because seeing fields is very useful, I feel like. Were you able to train yourself to do that?
I do see it to some degree, but I know there's a lot more. And part of it is just decalcifying your pineal gland and detoxing your body. And then for me, working with angels really helped to just reactivate those natural abilities.
Right. So how did you get in touch with the first angel?
So My guardian angel was the one I focused on first because
This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/DSH and get on your way becoming your best self. My fiance Ariel plays a big role in my mental health, helping me realize my true potential. Everyone's trying their best around you, so take time to appreciate someone close to you. I've tried therapy in the past, and it helped me go through some tough times when I was in college dealing with mental health. I was on prescription medication. I actually had agoraphobia when I was in college, and therapy helped me figure out some answers to how to fix that problem. For 2 months, I couldn't even leave my house, or I would have a full-on panic attack. So I love companies like BetterHelp that can get therapy in front of the masses. But therapy definitely helped me get better, and I definitely appreciate companies like BetterHelp because it's completely online and it's conveniently suited to fit your schedule and accommodate life surprises. Fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a licensed therapist today with the freedom to switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Visit betterhelp.com/DSH to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/DSH. Check them out now.
I looked at all these different traditions from like mystical Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Kabbalah, Toltec, indigenous, and they all speak that we have this guardian angel just for us. And so I did this ancient ritual to connect with it and water fasted for 10 days. And it was super intense, level 10 intense. But then it merged with me, and then everything was different after that. And just my intelligence and my ability to help other people and just miracles just start happening.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a beautiful
So you
experience.
could get there through fasting.
Fasting is incredible. It's free. And I just actually did a 5-day water fast and then a 1-day dry fast. And I just didn't even recognize myself at the end. Like I just upgraded. I'm like, whoa, wow, this is awesome. And then I just did an event, to prepare for this 3-day event I just did. And I'm about to do another, probably like a 5-day dry fast. Because dry fasting, no water, is one day of dry fasting is equivalent to 3 days of water fasting.
Holy crap.
So, yeah.
As I drink some water. I've only done 24-hour, but you would recommend maybe a 72-hour for people watching this?
I wouldn't recommend any specific type of fasting because I want you to tune in and decide on your own. But there's a lot of programming about, after 3 days, you'll die. I actually just came out with a study. A bunch of people just did a 5-day water fast, and everyone was not only fine, but, I think the 70-year-old started, he was like a 17-year-old afterwards in terms of his markers. It was insane because your body just goes into autophagy and starts destroying all the weird stuff in there that's not working perfectly. But then there's all these spiritual benefits too. So the ability, your clarity and your ability to just connect with that world just gets reconnected.
Right. So that's one way of cleansing. And then there's another route people take, which is psychedelics, right?
Yeah. I mean, plant medicines can be very cleansing. I see it all like at school. It's like, what class do you want to learn from now? You can learn from ayahuasca. You can learn from iboga, which definitely changed my life a lot more intense in some ways, lasts a lot longer. And then, I learned the hard way. Sometimes, this was working and I kept doing it and I was like, wait, this is too much. I need to integrate, or I need to maybe just fast or get off my phone.
Right.
So it's really tuning into like what is best for you right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty scared of psychedelics, but I really want to try it one day.
What is the main fear for you?
I had a bad trip in college. Yeah, on mushrooms.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's anything like it's a bad trip. It's basically like it could be a wake-up call. I've had what I thought was a bad trip, but essentially when you do it in the right energy, set and setting, it can be a really beautiful experience.
Right.
And it can did you feel like you just kind of like lost control? It was just like,
yeah, what happened was I did it with my friend, things were fine.
Yeah.
But then he invited some random kid over, and dude, the energy was insane. Like
Totally.
my heart sank, like I thought I was dying. Like
Yeah.
I could just feel almost like his traumas just latching on to me.
100%.
He was a drug dealer, I found out later, like a heavy drug dealer.
Well, that's what happens. And, that experience helped wake you up, I think, in an extent, because you're also like, even one person can change the energy of your whole life, your whole field. And it just amplifies that. And people have entities, people have chords, where, what you're feeling was actually real. It's like, that's the energy of that person.
Yeah.
And now, like, if you do it with people that you fully trust, it will be a completely different experience.
Yeah. So I got a crazy story about that, actually.
Yeah.
So one of my good friends he's in the adult industry.
Yeah.
So he has sex with a lot of people, and he went to this Reiki healer, and she was like, you have 9 souls attached to your body. So he was like, what? So she was like, have you had sex with anyone? He's like, yeah, all these people. And then she was like, have any of them passed away? And he started like writing the names down. There was about 1 girl a year because he's had sex with hundreds of girls. So there was 9 girls that passed away, and they were still on his body.
Oof.
Isn't that crazy?
Chills.
Yeah, just from having sex.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was like when you have sex with someone, they could kind of stay onto you.
Sex is sacred, and it's important to really choose wisely because you're connecting to those energies, and you can totally clear them, but it's a big thing. It can take a while.
Dude,
and
people are just having sex like one night stands, and they don't even know that.
They have no idea what's going on. Yeah, and then all sorts of weird stuff happens, and a lot of times, like, I help people just release a soul, and then all of a sudden, the physical or emotional issue they have just disappears.
Really?
It's actually just that connection they have to that soul.
How else can a soul latch onto you?
Oh, for many reasons. I mean, it could be someone that's just kind of like in love with you, addicted to you. It could be a member of your family. You know, for me, I did a plant medicine ceremony on my own, and it was actually my sister's soul that never got to be born. That I think there was like a car accident, and my whole life I was just like, what's going on? I feel like there's this feminine energy. Am I like a two-spirit being or like what? And then when I did this iboga journey on myself, all of a sudden it brought up, and I released it, and then I threw up physically that same second, and then I just felt like a completely different person. I was like, whoa, I feel like I just got reborn, like, because that whole time that soul was attached to me. So, and we're not taught how to do this stuff in school. It's like, this is so important. In different tribes, like you go, the whole village does a ceremony and helps you, and then no one's depressed. They're just happy, and you know, because this is part of life.
Yeah, people don't know, but with miscarriages, man, like depending on how old the baby is, I've met some people that have gotten them, and then they go to like psychic, and they said the baby's still on them like 20 years later. Isn't that crazy?
It's a thing.
Yeah, so be careful with those.
Yeah,
it's a controversial topic, but
everyone should learn how to use their mind and work with souls and spirits, because that's what's happening anyways, you know? And it's like, why not learn about it? And so you don't have to be scared of it. It's just, you know, it's just like programming a computer. You can command anything bad to leave if you just know how. You don't have to be worried about it. There's nothing to fear, right?
Yeah, what about possessions?
I feel like I used to be possessed in college, you know? I was so connected to God, and then slowly just got, you know, poisoned in more ways than one, and started drinking and doing drugs and like whatever. And at some point I felt like I was just totally possessed. And then I did mushrooms actually. And the mushrooms was like, stop doing all of this stuff. And like, I just had this full rebirth experience, and then started connecting again to spirituality, and this dream came in. And then I went like 180 degrees, just started going like full spirituality, and changed my life, saved my life.
I love it. Yeah, because we were talking before this, you were addicted to some medications, right?
Well, I was also prescribed by my, you know, the best psychiatrist in Orange County at the time, uppers and downers, like 5 different things, you know, like Adderall and Klonopin and antipsychotics and antidepressants. And I just got worse and worse and worse. And then finally I was just like, I need to take healing into my own hands, you know? So I had to get like really bad in order for me to just make a 180 turn.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's a shame, because you said you were borderline schizophrenic. That happened to my father too. They put him on all sorts of stuff.
It felt that way, yeah. I mean, I couldn't even go to a grocery store. I would just hear voices, and I was scared of everyone. Like, I was going completely insane.
Yeah, you couldn't make eye contact.
No. I didn't even understand what other people were. Like, I thought it was just the only person in the universe. I was like, I can't. Everything felt fake.
Wow.
And then later I realized that my soul was just fully disconnected from my body. And it came back in during my iboga ceremony. And I think, you know, at least a part of it, you know, I think I keep reconnecting with parts of my soul as I learn to fully love and accept myself. And, you know, it's part of the journey as well.
So what percentage of people right now you think are disconnected from their souls?
I think it's a spectrum, you know, and I think it depends on the region. Like, you know, indigenous people are very connected overall. But I would say, you know, it's in the 90s, you know, 90% of people I feel like are, but also a lot of people more than ever are waking up. You know, you start hearing it on the street. So they're connecting more and more each day. They're learning the truth each day. They're stop eating poison food and like opening up to their intuition, and like, wow, it's a sign, you know, and they're starting to reconnect with themselves. So it's also like, I feel so positive about what's going on right now in the future. You know, like 10 years ago, I was like, oh wow, the world is just, and now I'm like, there's literally so many amazing people fighting for justice and waking up. And I feel like we're going through one more crazy wave coming up, but then the world's going to actually be a much better place.
Yeah, there's guys like you, Robert Edward Grant, Mateus, Billy Carson, just all different, but same message, like if you look into it.
Yeah, I love Robert. We're going to Burning Man together.
Oh, nice.
He's great. But I think there's literally like millions of people they're waking up and sharing their gifts, and it's just about like sharing your truth, sharing your gifts,
Right.
you know, because I think I went through the craziest story of my life, barely surviving, just so I can share like, hey, I'm still alive. Like, here's how I did it. You could do it in your own way.
Yeah.
Right. But to stop judging ourselves, because the whole time I was just like, I'm so up. There's something so wrong with me. I'll never be loved. And it was all just in my mind. Right. That's the programming from society.
Yeah.
The truth, there's just nothing wrong with us. We're just in a crazy video game, and we're awesome people. We're awesome beings.
Dude, that happened to me too when I had agoraphobia, and I had, I was atheist at the time, which is a really tough way to live life, in my opinion. Like without any purpose, it's kind of depressing. I feel like you're taking years off your life. Yeah. So having these conversations really changed my whole perspective on life. I'm really glad I started this show, man. Yeah,
me too.
Dude, no, for real though, atheism is dangerous. You went through a phase of that too, right?
I went close to it. Yeah, I almost went there because I was just so disconnected from myself, you know? And I think it's just, atheism is just, when you're disconnected, it's not a judgment, but it just feels like when you're disconnected and, the programming is weaponized against your own mind, where it's like, oh, I know this can't be real, or this is how it is, Yeah. And that's the most dangerous thing, is when we think we know. So I always do my best to be an eternal student, because that's what I learned. Is I've seen so many people from atheists to spiritual masters, or so I thought, that think they know, and then all of a sudden it's their own ego that's weaponized against them. They do crazy and hurt people, or are just totally sidetracked off the path. So I learned about the Rosicrucians. They say it's not like good and evil. They actually talk about like two different polarities, like Satan and Lucifer, where it's like Satan is like, oh, do all this pleasure, and God's not real, and just, we see people like that. But the other side is like the Luciferian is like, oh, like you are God, in terms of the ego, like the small self is God, you know? And then you see all these, spiritual people dissociate with too many psychedelics, or, don't care about other people and just do things for themselves, or narcissists. And, in the middle of that is the Christ consciousness. It doesn't have to do with Jesus per se. It's, your own connection with God, being one with God, not from the ego space, but, in that alignment. So it's kind of like you're bowling and you want to shoot down the middle there.
Yeah. And wow, there's a lot to unpack there. But the good versus evil thing, I had to get that programming out of my head, man, because that's what they teach you every day growing up.
The duality is the ultimate matrix, because then you're like, oh, you're a sinner, if you're raised in religion like I was, and then, but it's projecting onto God something satanic. It's like, why would God judge you? Like, why? It's like, oh, I need to, like, I hope God forgives me. It's like, for God to forgive you, God would first need to judge you, which is such a lower state of consciousness, right? Because God sees everything and gets it, right? So it's reclaiming your innocence and realizing that it's only our programming that is creating sin, and that it's God is waiting for us to just forgive ourselves, because that's blocking us from our connection with the divine, right? Because we have free will.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Judging's another tough one to get rid of. I'm still like guilty of it, honestly, but I've toned back a ton. I used to judge a lot when I was younger in high school and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a common thing.
The key is to not identify with it. Like, instead of saying like, I'm guilty, it's like realizing there's just thoughts going through my head, like a video game, that are judging thoughts, but they're not me.
I love that. Yeah, I'm gonna try to incorporate that. But it's so easy when someone just brings up a comment about someone to like kind of fall in that,
In the past.
Yeah.
But you're waking up now.
Yeah. I love it, dude. Let's talk about dream porting.
Yeah. So basically, I went through a dark night of the soul, and I prayed to God. My whole life was just burning up. And I was like, this is going to take years for me to just recover from this. How can I just, instead of 3 years, make it into 3 weeks? How can I just shift into a whole different reality? And then I started drawing a map, and it told me like, okay, on this day, do this. And it guided me into a whole different timeline. And in 3 weeks, I just was the happiest, most abundant, healthiest version of myself I've ever been. And after practicing, I'm like, what is this technique? And I started sharing it with my friends, and then it became a whole school. And now I've trained probably like 60,000 people on shifting timelines and transforming their lives. It's been pretty cool.
So you could alter the future in a way?
Well, the future is not set in stone, and it's based off your present vibration and how you're framing reality, right?
Interesting. Well, some people theorize there's a predetermined future. That's why I asked that.
There might be predetermined moments in your future based off your higher self, but most of it is quite fluid, I would say.
So you have a lot of free will.
We have an enormous free will, and we can totally at any moment decide to change courses.
Right.
Yeah.
Just create a new dimension, right? Because there's infinite dimensions.
Yeah, you can choose your own dimension, and it's important to do it from your higher self and your heart. So your ego can also manifest, and I've learned that when I first started, right? And that was actually the first thing I tried to manifest. What I learned about the law of attraction was actually here in Vegas, and I was like, I want to be a rock star and play in front of thousands of people. And then all of a sudden, I was put with this show in Vegas with the band Cheap Trick and the Beatles sound engineer, and I sucked. I could barely play, but they're like, how did this guy even get this job? But it just happened, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is not actually what I want to do, but it's good to know that this works.
Wow. So it's like almost a master manifestation technique, dream porting.
It is. It's a whole system to awaken because you're realizing this is all a dream. And when you transform your limitations and your blocks, you're not manifesting those same patterns anymore. You can actually manifest anything your heart desires.
What are you doing in the dream world? Are you astral projecting a lot?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, my dreams are very vivid and teach me a lot. So
I believe there's a lot of lessons in dreams.
incredible lessons.
And they don't really teach you any of this growing up. They don't even talk about it, honestly.
This is why I think we need a whole new education system where it's basically just treating the children as divine beings. And it's their choice. It's like, do you want to learn about dreams? Do you want to learn how to do this? And based off their own soul's desires, because everyone's different, right? We're meant to just be mirrors to empower children to, be super kids. And so we actually started Dream Porting Super Kids.
Love it, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, there's so much innocence.
We made potions, taught them about using their intuition and channeling energy, because that's the building blocks for everything. Like the energy you put into your job or to a relationship, right? That's what's going to bear the fruit in the relationship.
Yeah.
So teaching that to them, reminding them of that early on is beautiful.
Beautiful. Do you have a family lineage of spirituality?
I was raised Jewish, so that was kind of like my lineage, and it has some beautiful codes in it. And then I kind of like escaped it and was like, oh, religion. And now I'm kind of coming back and learning so much about like the mystical part of it, the Kabbalah, which is really beautiful.
I love the Kabbalah. Do you know David Guillaume?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
He's really pushing it on his social media, and I feel like he's done an excellent job. Because I knew nothing about it until his clips, but there's a lot I agree with Kabbalah, man.
It's incredible. It's
Dude, it
absolutely
makes
incredible.
so much sense.
Yeah.
Like that's the one. Is that a religion? Do they consider Kabbalah religion?
It's basically the mystical path from Judaism.
Okay.
But it's also a practical way where you're not just reading, oh, like this is how reality works. There's that part, but it's also for a lot of people that go deep into it, you can actually use the magic of numbers and angels and words to just facilitate miracles.
Yeah, it's so actionable. That's the one part. That's why I identify with that one the most out of anything.
Oh, beautiful.
And I like Buddhism too because I believe in reincarnation. But
100%.
yeah, I'd say those two I identify with.
Yeah.
So what about numbers? What are you doing with those?
Well, I'm getting into numerology. That's not my specialty, but it's mind blowing how I just got a numerology reading, and this year is a 5-year for me. So it's all about just exploring, and it totally makes sense. Last year was like structure. I just stayed in one place and went to the gym and like worked on these things, like building structure. And this year is like go wild, and it's like the universe is not letting me settle down. Like I kept moving and it just didn't work. So I'm like, okay, put my stuff in storage. I'm going to Burning Man. I'm going to travel the world. So it's, learning about the frequencies in your chart is so beautiful, because then you can surf that wave. You still have the free will, but it's good to know where the waves are so you can surf that wave in a beautiful way.
I agree. What was your life path number?
I have a life path of 4 and 11.
Oh,
and
you're an 11.
There's a few different things. And then I have like a 22. So
yeah, 11, 22 are powerful ones, I believe.
Yes.
I think 11, 22, and 33 are like the most powerful ones.
Yeah, the master numbers.
The master numbers, yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And then I just did a Nadi astrology reading where I read a 5,000-year-old scroll.
Wow.
About me. They had my name and like my entire life on it.
What?
I was skeptical, and then I heard about it years ago, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. It was the most profound reading I've ever done in my life.
No way. I need to do
gotta
that
do it.
one.
I'll connect
Was that
you.
in Austin?
It's on Zoom now. They have
wow.
like 3 people like in India, and they like sing you in an ancient language your entire life, and then they translate it, and they tell you like your biggest blocks your past life, why it happened, and how to clear it.
Holy crap. Wow. Dude,
Yeah.
that's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I have some financial blocks, to be honest, because I always get to like a 7-figure range in my businesses, but can never crack past that.
Yeah, that's good. If there's a ceiling, it's like really tuning into if it's a karmic block or a limiting belief. I've helped a lot of people through that. So
Yeah, there's something there. And I know financial ones are common, right?
financial is one of the most commons because it's our ability to receive. And in astrology, the second house is money and self-worth, but it's really the same thing. That's why they put it in that, pie chart there. So it's really about tuning into self-worth, like any identification with a limiting belief about ourselves, because we're really just one with the divine.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just dissolving that false identity is the fastest way to increase their capacity to receive abundance, love, miracles, all of that.
What other trauma blocks are common? I assume relationships.
Yeah, relationships are a mirror that are simply pointing back to us something in ourselves that we're not being authentic about or loving or holding back. So I would say, relationships are a beautiful school. It's the ultimate school, I think, in this world. And I feel like something I'm just getting into, it's just like, wow.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Myself.
They expose you, man. You can't hide from your traumas in a relationship because they will just surface.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. For me, it was very hard to, I was autistic and, some of my friends are like, you're still a little autistic. But I was, I could barely even have a friend, so it took me like years just to like have like one healthy friendship.
Wow.
Because I was just so much trauma. And then from that, I was like, oh, I want to be in a romantic relationship. And like, it was intense.
It's tough.
It's just been that human thing for me,
Yeah, no, it's tough because being able to relate to a female with that condition is tough. I had to deal with it.
100%.
I had no girls growing up.
And yeah, I just got out of a relationship, and it was actually the one I just got out of was actually really healthy and loving, and we're still like really close friends. And so now I'm, I feel like I have a foundation where I can, open up to someone and in a much deeper way, which I'm excited about.
That's an interesting take right there because a lot of people will cut off their ex-partner completely.
The first one, yes, because when you're gaslighting, it's not healthy, and so there's one was like, okay, we're complete, only love, and second one is like, hey, you're awesome, let's continue being
I
friends.
think it depends on the person.
Yeah, it just depends on the dynamic.
Yeah, if it's too toxic, you gotta get rid of them. Sometimes it's your own family.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Very
that's
tough.
The part of our learning lessons for sure.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, just statistically, right? If you have like 50 family members, odds are there might be a couple that you really don't want in your life.
Yeah, it's doing your best to navigate compassion and also just having healthy boundaries.
Yeah, boundaries are important. Yeah, it's easy to walk on those.
We're not taught how to make boundaries. Right. We're not taught how to make decisions, the very basic building blocks of architecting our reality. So that's what I believe we should teach our children and the adults who emotionally are still children.
Absolutely, dude. Right? I felt guilt when I was explaining my boundaries to people. And yeah, you shouldn't feel that way. It should just be a normal thing moving forward.
Well, we're taught the opposite, right? We're taught to externalize our whole reality and try to please other people, which is basically slavery. And so it's about reconnecting with our inner children and teaching them like, hey, actually, this is okay. Like you can say no, right? And if someone has a problem with that, that's their experience. You don't have to control their trigger, right? That's their learning experience. And actually, that's good. It's not bad. Right. It's okay.
Absolutely.
And, just repatterning that.
Are you seeing a lot of generational trauma with you said you coach like tens of thousands of people, right?
I mean, the trauma right now, I think it's very different than I think what was happening for the past few decades. I think now people are learning how to clear trauma a lot faster, but there's just a lot of different layers. And also they're being bombarded with their phones and all this stuff. So people are just feeling a lot of overwhelm is what I'm feeling. And it's about really now shifting from the healing paradigm to the awakening paradigm where you're really like, wait, there's nothing to fix. I'm actually just been identified with this illusion. Let me dissolve the constructs of this illusion and have this rapid awakening. And that's what I feel is what I've been focusing on. And this healing happens on its own, physically, emotionally, mentally. But it's about just snapping people out of the whole false identity because all the limiting beliefs, all the traumas, they're all, the root of all of that is this whole conglomeration of this identity, which you think is, oh, Daniel or Mike or whoever. It's just only exists in your mind. And when we dissolve that and become one with everything again, all of a sudden you can manifest miracles. All of a sudden your body can heal. All of a sudden you're psychic again, or whatever it is. All of a sudden you make a bunch of money. And so it's just, I found this protocol to actually, you can do that in several minutes for most people. Some people need to just clear some trauma, like just relax a little bit, their nervous system. But, when I do these live events on Zoom, we have like 5,000-6,000 people. I always do a poll. It's like, hey, did this change your life? Did you feel this energy? I learned this energy technique where you can activate Kundalini, your life force, just remotely. And it's always 96% of people the last few times.
That's
and
crazy.
I want to get it to
high.
100, And
Well, there's probably some massive blocks in the 4%.
Yeah, and that's okay. Sometimes it also like it's a delayed response, because I asked them like right away after like, hey, 2 hours. It's like, and there's so much that happens after that, of course.
Dude, that's incredible results, because imagine those 5,000 will impact people, and the branch off that could turn to millions.
I want to go to millions. I'm like, let's get millions of people on.
That's how I feel with the podcast, because one video will get 10 million and then they share it. It's like, I love this platform because we can reach millions of people so quickly.
Yeah. It's time for all our truths and voices to be shared. It's a beautiful time. Like, history is turning into, I believe, a golden age. And yes, it's going to get crazy. Inside information from a very high level person I'll share, I think for the first time, is approximately 2 years of just utter chaos that in some ways will be more intense than the COVID crisis.
Wow.
And multifaceted. But then the whole contract of the earth is being renegotiated because the old structure can no longer, it's being exposed, it can no longer work.
Who is that negotiation with? Is that with extraterrestrials?
The guy telling me basically was, he pretty much was beyond the level of presidents, and, really like raised with like the people that are in control. And I didn't hear too much detail about that. He didn't really mention extraterrestrials. I think there's a lot of levels to it, but what he did say is that he was just really certain. He wasn't about stuff,
right?
And it felt true to me. And years ago, I had a period where I felt kind of depressed because I was like, what's going on with the world? And now it's like, yeah, it's going crazy, but also it's the end of this whole, thousands of years of insanity, right? Like, there's so many people waking up at the same time, and it's just about trusting right now. There's trusting that there's so many actual good people in place of power, and people waking up in place of power, and we're all in places of power as we wake up.
Yeah,
we can facilitate miracles just by speaking our truth and being in alignment. So it's a really beautiful time.
I love it, man.
Well.
Age of Aquarius is coming up.
Yeah,
that's my zodiac sign. What's yours?
I'm a Taurus.
Taurus.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've had a Taurus on the podcast. I don't really ask that many people, so I probably have. Do you believe in any of that astrology stuff?
I believe astrology, once you look at it, if you do it with someone good, like it's always to the T. It's always super accurate. And there's, two schools of thought. Some people are like, oh, it's not real at all, but I don't think they've actually gone into it. Because if you actually just go into it, you'll be like, this is mind blowing.
Agreed.
And the other part is like, oh, I don't want to give it power. It's like, you don't have to give it power. It's like surfing a wave. You see a wave coming, you can still surf it however you want, right? But it's good to know that the wave's coming. It's good to know.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think there's a lot of bad information on it.
Yeah, most people, I think it's a very advanced art, and there's people that are just kind of like reading a book or two and just getting into it. But it used to be like, you would go to magical universities to learn from masters for decades, because it's so complex.
Yeah. Any other trips with masters upcoming for you that you're learning from?
I've been training with a Sufi master, Musa, who's incredible, and he's actually going to be training everyone in our Italy retreat. So I'm really excited about that.
What's Sufi?
Sufi is the mystical branch of Islam.
Interesting. I didn't know that. What's that mainly about?
Oh man, I mean, I'm just getting into it. One of the quotes he said the other day that really got me is like, anyone you're doing business with in life, just remember you're really just only doing business with one person, or just God. So it's a simple thing, but it's like, someone's yelling at you, or someone, it's all just the divine teaching you or interacting with you. And so it's basically just a mystical way to dissolve your ego. Like the poet Rumi went through an initiation with his Sufi master, and it's about being one with God and getting out of the duality of the mind. Like, it's all just logic. And at some points it's about like just almost overwhelming it to dissolve. We're just trying to figure it out. You can't figure it out with your mind. It's about like going through the heart and just really reconnecting with the truth of who we are.
That's cool. I love how open you are to learn from all types of masters. That's like super rare to find.
I love it. I feel like right now for me, that's the way. I feel like it's, part of my mission is alchemizing the different faceted traditions and techniques, kind of like MMA. Let's do like mixed magic arts.
I love that.
Yeah,
dude. Yeah, no, those guys should be in contact with each other.
Well, that's what we're doing now. We're bringing them together. Creating this whole council.
That's unheard of. That's like never been done.
Yeah,
because they're all so set in their ways and their countries and their locations, but they never all meet up in person and communicate.
Now they are. Yeah, more and more of them are going into different councils and sharing codes and techniques.
Wow.
And it's really beautiful.
Dude, that's so powerful because these are thousands of years of knowledge in these guys.
Meeting for the first, it's like different rivers meeting for the first time into one ocean.
We might be on to world peace one day. I just had Guru Dev on.
Yeah.
Have you heard of him? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that guy's on another level. He's stopping wars. 52-year wars. He's just stopping through peace. I couldn't believe it, man.
That's the way right
just
now.
The energy meeting that guy is different. There's people like that you walk in their place and you just want to learn from them. I love that, man. Well, what's next for you? Do you have any events coming up?
Yeah, I have the Italy retreat coming up first couple weeks of October, and we're doing usually once a month an online, just a one-day event online, so people all over the world can join and just miracles happen there. It's just a place to just get your miracles. So
perfect. We'll link both of those events in the description, dude. Thanks for coming on, Daniel.
That was an honor. Yeah,
absolutely. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, see you next time.